today's episode, we talk about the best runner-up restaurants when your first choice may not be available for a reservation.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
You are listening to the Main Street Magic Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy Stein and John Marone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and I am joined by my friend, co-host, and fine dining expert, John Marone.
I'm hungry.
In today's episode, we discuss which reservation you might look to book if your first choice isn't always available. Please check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at mainstmagic. All right, so John, we actually went and looked at some of the most popular reservations and some of the most popular restaurants on Disney property. This may be at resorts and inside of parks, and we want to give some alternatives if you can't get the reservation where you want. So we know that advanced dining reservations, or ADRs, start 180 days out from your reservation. So I guess the first tip would be just know what you want to do and start booking 180 days out. And if that's the case, maybe you don't need this episode, but still, as we've learned with things like Flight of Passage or maybe Cinderella's Royal Table, even at your 60-day Fast Pass or 180-day ADR options, you still might not get what you want, because guess what? There's hundreds or thousands of other people out there who are going the same weekend you are, and they've got the same window to book.
Actually, there's some people who have a window perhaps ahead of you.
Yes.
Depending how long their reservation is and when they're staying.
When they show up compared to where you show up.
Right.
Very good point. Yeah.
So it's no different than, on Fast Pass, I could book 60 days out, but I also can do 10 days beyond that. Depending. So if if I'm checking in on the 1st and you're checking in on the 5th, if my stay's long enough, I can still get some of the dates ahead of you. I could get your 5th date before you can because of when I'm checking in.
Yeah. No, and yeah, that's a great point. So we've got 10, and these are what we and most of the Disney community probably considers the 10 hottest reservations and the ones that are hardest to get at, really 10 of some of the best restaurants on Disney property. So let's start inside the Magic Kingdom at Cinderella's Royal Table. This has become a little bit easier to get ever since our secondary option opened up, which is Be Our Guest. But still, this is one of my favorite places we've ever been. We went when Lacey was under 3 years old, because I know she was included for free technically, and I'll never forget that, because it was nice to not have to pay that extra fee for her. But it's an amazing experience. I don't think you get to see that many princesses probably at any other dining experience. And the food was outstanding. It's one of the few character dinings that's not a buffet, which I really liked as well. It's priced higher probably than some of the buffets, but again, so what are you looking at first if you can't get Cinderella's Royal Table?
So what we've tried to do or look at here is, can we stay in the same park or hotel or that? That's our first choice. If we can't, is there something that's suitable that it's easy to get to? So it's not, I can't get a reservation at Sanaa, so we tell you the best place to go is Disney Springs.
Right.
Yeah. So we're trying to keep it close. So as you said, the Cinderella Royal Table, the next choice probably would be Our Guest, but they're both two of the most difficult places to get to. Yeah. So because of the magic of the transportation, of the monorail, and depending whether you're doing breakfast or what meal there, to hop the monorail, go to the Grand Floridian, and do 1900 Park Fare.
Okay.
So at least here's another one. Yep, you go from your regular menu ordering to a buffet, but 1900 Park Fare does have many of the princesses.
Yeah.
So that would be a suitable thing for me. You're more than likely, again, you're doing Cinderella Royal Table mainly for the girls.
Yeah.
Right? Your wife, your daughter, girlfriend, whoever it might be. It's a family of guys
Lonely
on
old
a
man.
golf trip.
Yeah.
You're probably not doing Cinderella Royal Table.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not that, hey, Snow White's always nice.
Yes. Yep.
But
yep.
you want to do so if you're staying there with the princesses. I think 1900 Park Fair still can be a difficult reservation at times, but it is easier to get than the Royal Table.
Yeah.
The other thing that we'll say is you have to be flexible, and so flexible this way. Number one, you want to book it as far out as you can within your window. That's always number one. Number two, if you can't, and this is a pain, but you want to check as often as possible.
Yeah.
Because there are times that reservations will show up.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's their trip changed and they need to cancel or change something, and something pops up.
Yeah.
The third way is you kind of can say, well, maybe I'm going to book it something else, maybe I'm not, but reservations have to be canceled with no fee 24 hours in advance.
Right.
You can find these popular reservations 24 hours ahead sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, so keep
if you,
looking.
Yeah, so keep looking. So you could just wing it and say, yeah, not sure, but I'm not going to book anything. Something will come through, and I'm just going to check the day before, 2 days before.
Yeah.
Or you just show up. Now, that's truly the most sketchy of the ones. But if
But if you're already there,
if you're already there and you are going to show up, here's what I'll tell you. Show up early. Like, my wife and I have eaten at Ohana tons of times. Very rarely do we do a reservation. We show up early, though. So right there for that first seating, and they'll take all the reservations first in, and they have 2 lines there for Ohana. So they have your reservation line and then the people who are willing to wait if something opens up. And we have never been turned away. So if the first seating, I just picked a time, say the first seating's 5:30, we'll get in line at 4:30.
okay.
Right? No different than waiting in line for a ride.
Yeah.
And we'll be seated by 5:45 or 6 o'clock, somewhere in there, once those first people, because that's a restaurant that they tend to try and turn it over, most of it at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that we've never had a problem with that.
Okay.
Getting in there that day. Now, if it's a actual holiday, hey, good luck. Make
Yeah.
a reservation. But any other time, you should be okay. And
Okay.
we've done Fridays and Saturdays with no issues.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, so it may be Cinderella Royal Table, which is expensive, and if you're the one time we did it, it was the only time we've ever gotten the dining plan because you can trade in 2 table service credits for the Royal Table. So I did the math based on what we were going to spend on those few days we were there on dining plan and what out of pocket would have been for Cinderella's Royal Table, and it made sense for us to get dining plan. So a little tip: now if you're staying, 7 to 10 days, it might not be worth getting that dining plan just for that one reservation. But if you're doing, maybe 3 nights, it may be worth it. But again, Cinderella's Royal Table is expensive. It's tough to get, but maybe you still are in Magic Kingdom and you're looking to eat, inside of a castle, and you want to look at reservations at Be Our Guest. Dinner reservations is a sit down, so it's much harder to get. Sometimes you can get into either breakfast or lunch, but dinner would kind of be the sweet spot. So again, you're booked. You want to go ahead and have a backup plan. Where are you heading if you can't get Be Our Guest?
So if I can't get Be Our Guest, I am heading over to the Jungle Skipper Canteen. Again, I thought that this restaurant was going to open with a little bit more fanfare,
Yeah.
but I think just the way the menu is designed probably puts some people off. It
Yeah.
seems more exotic than it actually is.
Right.
The theming of the restaurant is wonderful.
Yeah.
The price-wise, for dinner, you're in the Be Our Guest price range. I mean, it's a little bit more costly of a restaurant.
Yeah.
But the food, no matter what we've, purchased each time, food's been really good.
Yes.
So I think that's one. And there's times where, I'm walking through the Magic Kingdom and I'm heading either towards Pirates or to go get a Dole Whip or something. And you pass through Adventureland, you go right past the Jungle Skipper Canteen, and they will have people out front letting you know that they have reservations
Yes.
open for that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, that's one you can definitely walk up to. And I think you're right. The menu, and I don't know if they ended up changing the wording on the menu. I know they were going to at one point, so things didn't sound as exotic. But that's another place too where you said, the pricing is in line with Be Our Guest, but I think the portions are beyond Be Our Guest. So I think you're getting, again, more bang for your buck if you eat somewhere like that. And, I'm a huge Jungle Cruise fan. So I loved eating there. The waiters and waitresses are basically the same as the skippers on the Jungle Cruise. And it's just, it's pun after pun while you're eating. So you're in a sense, you're getting a show at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I like it there. I mean, we've only been there once. We haven't been back, but we don't tend to eat a ton of sit down meals in the Magic Kingdom. It's usually nachos at Pecos Bill for me, and maybe Sleepy Hollow if they're not out of chicken. So let's move over to Epcot, and we know a hot ticket there, and one of the best places to eat is Le Cellier.
Correct.
Got it correct. All right, look at me. But maybe that's not available. That doesn't work when you're looking to get a dinner reservation there and you're booked up. You want a steak, right? That's why you're going there in the first place. Where should you head?
So if you are during Food and Wine, to me, there's three things at Le Cellier. Their beer cheddar soup, their poutine, and their steak, the filet with the wild mushroom on top. Two of those three you can get at the kiosk during Food and Wine.
Right.
You just can't get the poutine.
Right.
If you're at Disney Springs, there's a whole stand just for poutines.
Exactly.
So you can get that. But if you're going to Le Cellier and it's really, you are, as you said, you're going for the steak, there's not a lot of places inside of Epcot that now this is my change and I'm going to get a steak here. You're going to go back through the back entrance and head over to the Yacht Club and try and get a reservation for Yachtsman's Steakhouse.
Okay.
Nice clubby feel. It's not a huge restaurant, but again, you'll make the reservation ahead of time. They have a lot of great dry-aged steaks in there. In the past, when I've eaten there, they've even had on the menu like Chateaubriand for two. It's a good steak, overlooked, and it's one of those where I look at it, you can do that. You can then head over to Swan and Dolphin, and there's a Shoeless Steakhouse in there as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
And, I just kind of overlook those sometimes because the tension tends to be, I got to get to Le Cellier.
Right.
But these are two good alternatives that you can take a friendship boat to or you can walk to, and you're right there.
Yeah. No, I think that's perfect. And as we just talked about on the previous episode, during the holidays, in general, Beach Club, Yacht Club, and those areas around the boardwalk, it's a great walk and it's a great atmosphere in general. So you could decide to go, to Yachtsman, but maybe prior you grab a drink or a cocktail, an appetizer over somewhere along the boardwalk area. So, and then you're right at that back entrance. You're right inside Epcot, and you've probably only spent a few extra minutes walking over there than you would have if you had the reservation at Le Cellier. So, next. All right, Disney Springs is becoming the go-to spot for dining within Disney. And what's great about it is it's not within a park, so you don't have to have a park ticket to eat at these places. It's not at a resort, so if you don't want to specifically go to a resort just to eat, there are so many options at Disney Springs, and stuff is continually opening. One of the really popular spots, which has been open for a little bit now, but not too long, is Boathouse. We've not eaten there yet, but I know that can be a very hard reservation to get. There's a brand new option out there, which is paddlefish. Now, have you eaten at either of these places?
Yes, I've eaten at Boathouse. I have not eaten at Paddlefish yet.
Okay, yeah.
So,
but I think they're probably pretty similar.
A little bit similar, just looking at the menu. So, Boathouse is actually from the same company of Gibson Steakhouse out of Chicago. So they have anywhere. Their lounge is nice and fun. You can get some drinks and some appetizers there that are more casual. And then their menu is really a mix. The place is huge, and it's amazing how much it fills up. But I think they have 3 different dining rooms in there. There's the bars there. There's also a bar in the backside out on the water. So a lot of different places you can go to. They have great burgers, or you can go for the steaks, or you can go for the seafood. Everybody enjoyed what they had there when we went. So I think we had a group of 6 or 7 that went, and we liked it a lot. Paddlefish, I go back, and I'm interested. It's on my list. The 2 places on my list at Disney Springs that I haven't been to yet and I want to go to are Art Smith as well as Paddlefish.
Yeah.
I just can't get into Art Smith.
Right.
So if I have to eat at Morimoto again, I will. Or at...
Twist your arm.
Yeah, Frontera Cucina, either one of those. But yeah, you're right. The restaurants are great. You don't have to worry about the parking. You don't have to worry about paying for parking or any of those. With the 2 new garages, you're there at Disney Springs. But a lot of good choices. You can't go wrong. But if you said, what's most like the Boathouse, it'd be Paddlefish. But if you can get into any of those other ones, you're fine.
Oh, yeah.
Stay away from Bongos.
Yeah.
Stay away from Paradiso 37.
Yes.
There's some...
The originals.
The originals.
All part of the old Pleasure Island.
Yeah, and you do look, and a lot of those originals are on their way out.
Yeah.
I've yet to eat at, STK. Haven't heard good things about it.
Yeah.
All right? Big price, small portions, too artsy, not kid-friendly.
Right.
Haven't done Planet Hollywood yet because it's not my style of food.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's just too
it's
much.
Food on
and-
food on
Yeah.
food.
And whether if I'm in the minority, fine. But I could do without Guy Fieri or whatever.
Yeah.
I could care less about him. And my sandwich doesn't have to have 3 sandwiches
On
with
top
a,
of it.
with a skewer through it. And it's like, look at how wonderful this is.
Right. Yeah. Like how out of
Yeah.
bounds can we get? Now, one thing I would suggest you could do at Planet Hollywood and just to see everything is we got to Disney Springs one of our recent trips and it was just about to rain. Buses are not far from Planet Hollywood. We just ducked in there real quick, went up to the 2nd level, which I think is technically the 1st level in a sense, to the bar, and we grabbed a drink. And we waited for the rain to die down like it's going to do in Florida, and we just walked because the atmosphere inside is still Planet Hollywood like, as in it's got the memorabilia and it has all the displays. But it's modern now. The old Planet Hollywood, I mean, that thing looked like it was 30, 40 years old. It was just kind of nasty. So they did a great job, I think, on the revamp inside. But yeah, we were walking by people getting their food, and it's a burger topped with pulled pork, topped with mac and cheese, topped with, heart attack. So we didn't eat there, but it was a nice place to have a drink and just walk around. By the time we saw everything there was to see, our drink was done, and we just left. It had stopped raining, and we went on to wherever we were going. So then this next one on the list is interesting. We're going to stick around at Disney Springs, and you said this is one of the tougher reservations to get, and that's at T-Rex.
Yeah. So of the 10 toughest reservations, this is the one that probably surprises me the most.
Yeah.
But it's true. I think every time we've tried T-Rex, we've had to make a reservation. And as you're walking through Disney Springs, the people just waiting outside. It is always packed.
Yep.
Now, if you can't get T-Rex and you're there for the theming, you're just going to do Rainforest Cafe.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that tends to get the overflow crowd. Now, the same person who designed and started Rainforest Cafe is the same person who designed and did T-Rex.
Yeah.
Which now Rainforest is part of Landry's. And I'm not sure if T-Rex is as well or
Right.
not. But, the Landry seafood chain or restaurant chain has at least one or both of
Yeah.
them. But it was the same person who designed them both.
Yeah.
And so one, you have a rainstorm with animals making sounds. And the other one, you have a light show because a meteor's coming in and the dinosaurs are making sounds.
Yeah, and both of them scare the crap out of my youngest daughter. So
Yeah,
we don't
so-
go to either anymore.
Yeah, so it's the theming, great. You want animals, you want dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So if you can't get into one, get in the other. To me, the food again is the same, right? Huge plates, huge portions of
It's
different
not bad.
things, and
it's
food's
exactly
good.
what you expect there.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's not outstanding, but it's not bad. It's
Right.
good food, and there's a ton of options. there's so many. And like you mentioned with the Landry's, and I'm not sure either if T-Rex falls under that now, but I think it's $20 membership a year for the Landry's card. And at least at Rainforest, you get priority seating even without a reservation if you have that card. And then I think you get a free gift card on your birthday or a free meal on your birthday. So $20 a year may be worth. You didn't get in T-Rex, but you walk with that card right up front at Rainforest, and you should, without a reservation, you should get in pretty quickly.
Yeah, it might be 25. I'm not sure, but I remember when Rainforest came out and went public, I said, I'll buy a couple shares of this stock. And what they used to do is send you 4 be seated immediately passes for the year. They'd send you a discount card, and then they'd send you another card for merchandise or something. And so early on, when that opened at Disney Springs and the lines were huge, I knew 4 times a year if I was going there, because again, at that point, that was one of the better options at Disney Springs.
Yeah.
I knew 4 times a year that I was going to be seated before anybody else.
Right.
Now, we won't talk about what happened with the stock and the price and all that. Landry's buying them, but I'm not sure if whatever I paid for it was worth the 4 seatings a year for those few years. But, yeah, so T-Rex, if you can't get in, just go ahead and hop over to the Rainforest.
Yeah. And I remember one opened when I lived in Baltimore at the mall there at Rainforest. And it was just the coolest thing because there was nothing like it at that time. And I think that's what was cool when it first came to... I don't even know if it was downtown Disney at that point, if it was the prior incarnation when it opened, but it was neat because it took the theming that you would normally find maybe at a restaurant in the park and brought it outside of the park. And it was kind of one of those first places. And then, we would see now Disney Springs is turning into nothing but theming almost everywhere you go. So that part was kind of cool. So one of the other places, and I believe this is a signature restaurant over at Wilderness Lodge, and that's Artist Point. Another really, really tough reservation to get. Have you been there?
I have.
How is it?
It's great. Been there a few times. If you like food, they definitely try and go to that Pacific Northwest. So there is a lot of seafood and salmon on the menu. The desserts for the kids, I know they've changed over time, but my kids liked it. They had a paint your own cookie. So it pretty much came with a cookie, and it came with 5 different types of things that they could paint, put sprinkles on it, all kinds of toppings there. So the food's good, consistent. They'll sometimes even have, buffalo sausage or elk or different things on the menu. So plus your regular standards. It's up, and when I say it's upstairs, so if you're in the lobby at Wilderness Lodge and you head all the way to the left behind the fireplace, there's the ramp that takes you down. And that ramp takes you down, and now it goes to the pool or goes to the boat.
There's a Roaring Fork, the pool, and then there's actually access elevators to that side of the resort, because those are the elevators we used when we stayed there. We were over on that side.
Yep. Instead of taking that down ramp, there's right next to it is an up ramp. And that up ramp is where you go to Artist Point. So if you're sitting there and you get a window view, you actually would be overlooking the pool and that area. So it's nice. It seems a little bit more private, tucked away, but the food's real good. But yeah, it is tough to get into. And to me, if we try and do our theming here for this episode of I'm going to stay at the resort, it's tough. There is no other Artist Point. So it's not like Grand Floridian where you have 4 or 5 different sit-down restaurants to choose from.
Right.
Here you have this one, or you go to the lobby to Whispering Canyon and get yelled at for ketchup, right? And the food is different.
Yeah.
So you have a couple different takes on this. So if we couldn't get into Artist Point, what should we do?
Yeah, so you're gonna go a slightly different level. It's not gonna be an upscale signature dining, but right next to Artist Point, and instead of going up that ramp to Artist Point, there's a few steps into Territory Lounge. It's a small bar and lounge area that has great drinks, amazing atmosphere, and then it has some apps. So what I would do is I would start at Territory Lounge, and I'd start off with a drink, and I would get an appetizer or 2. We had the wings there, were outstanding. You get the same bread and butter that comes over from Artist Point. They bring it over, and it's the salted butter, which was new to me, but now everybody does it. And now I'm at home putting salt on my butter. Like, what it does is amazing. But so those are very good. And then they have poutine there. So the poutine appetizer, nice big portion, very good as well. Now, when my wife and I went, we had a little bit of a date night, and that's what we did. We did the bread, we did the poutine, we did the wings, and we had drinks, and that was our night. So you could get one of those appetizers if you wanted instead, then head down to the new Geyser Point Bar and Grill, which is just past the pool, right on the water. It's covered, but it's not indoors. So if this is a cold night, maybe that's not your option, or you just want to bundle up. But it's got a wraparound, great bar area you could sit at. If you're with the kids, there's plenty of tables. There's even tables right there on the water. Now, the menu there is going to be more of sandwiches. You know, you're going to have burgers and fries and some other appetizers there. But I still think you could have that Wilderness Lodge feel. It's not going to be the fine dining, but you're still going to get the same type of food from the Pacific Northwest in a sense. You know, I think we had the bison burger when we went to Geyser Point. So you're still getting some of those options. So I think, you know, again, if you want to stick there, that would be your best bet. Otherwise, you have to drive somewhere, or you've got to hop on a boat and try and get one of these tough ones at the Magic Kingdom or somewhere along the monorail loop. So that's probably what I would do. So now, speaking of the monorail loop, and one of your absolute favorite places that I know you've been to a ton of times, probably, you know, one of the top dining experiences in all of Disney is California Grill at the Contemporary.
Yeah.
Tough
you have the view, you have the tough reservations. I've done it. You know, they've changed so much of it where now it almost is a reservation. You can head and try and see if they'll let you up to sit at the bar area, which is what Michelle and I used to do a ton. Just go up there, sit at the bar, order apps, dessert, bottle of wine, and, you know, sit there. That's our favorite place. You're not really getting that atmosphere anywhere else, but if you're staying at the Contemporary, this was on our last trip report, which just overlooked, and that's the Wave.
Yeah.
Yep, you're going from the 15th floor down to the first, so there's absolutely no view at all.
Right.
So you go from a great view of the parks to no view at all, but the food is on par.
Yeah.
So the food was really good. Yep, the food at California Grill, you have the open kitchen concept. They have sushi, great apps, great entrees, kind of a mix of everything. Here it's more of you're ordering off the menu. It's not the open kitchen, but on par food-wise.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's that, yeah, if I were to say, gosh, if what's on par with California Grill, while it's a resort, you know, I put it in there with like a Citrico's or, you know, something there that's a little bit more upscale. But if I'm staying at that resort and I can't get into California Grill, you're going to be able to get into the Wave.
Yeah, easy reservation to get,
Yeah.
as we did, you know, that weekend we were there. But I haven't been to California Grill, but the Wave, you know, as I've said in the past, is one of my most underrated places in all of Disney now. And I'll say it again, the bacon and eggs appetizer might be hands down the best thing I've eaten at Disney so far. So would recommend that. And I like your tip though, because you've told us, you know, before, maybe try the California Grill at the bar. You know, you're going to get the same food and the same atmosphere, but possibly without a reservation. And that's going to obviously probably be built more for, you know, husband and wife date night. Not a whole family, obviously, but I like that is a possible solution as well. So let's stick with hotels. And we're going to go out into the middle of nowhere, and we're at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and we really want to eat at Sanaa, which is outstanding. But again, booked, can't get that reservation. What other option do we have over there?
So you head from Kidani Village over to Jumbo House and go eat at Jico. So must have been an anniversary dinner. I made a reservation for Michelle and I there at Jico, and she, you know, when she said, well, where are we going? And, because it's one of those where I'll book that stuff and make it be a surprise.
Right.
So she's like, okay, well, it's kind of, you know, African-themed food. And are we going to like it?
Right. Could definitely be off-putting.
Yeah. But
you got to be of interest.
She loved it and thought it was one of the best
Yeah.
meals she's ever had.
Awesome.
So when you get there, they have a couple huge clay ovens in there. They have, if I'm correct, I believe I saw this, they have the largest selection of South African wines in the United States. So they have a great selection of wines. It's another one of those to me that's somewhat overlooked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that it's not a popular place, but the first place that most people would tend to go to for Animal Kingdom is you're going to Boma,
Right.
which is probably the best buffet there is. So that gets more attention because there's more choices in that. But now Sanaa's picked up, especially probably for the bread service, right?
so
Which is
good.
all everybody raves about.
Yeah.
I've never really heard anybody talk about any of the actual dishes they had there,
Yeah.
which I've had. I
Yeah,
mean,
and they
I've
were
eaten
good.
there. The
Yeah.
dishes were good, but everybody talks about
we
the
went
bread
back
service.
the next night when we were there. We went back the next night for the bread service alone, and we sat in the bar area because they did have some sit down and they had some high tops where we were okay with the kids. We didn't have to sit at the actual bar, but yeah, we went back second night bread service, and then we just picked the sauces that we wanted instead of getting all 14 or whatever it is.
Yeah, so you won't get the bread service at Jico, but you'll be able to talk about the meal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the overall meal will be better because I know what we ate at Sanaa was good for our entree, but I couldn't tell you what it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, so all right. So we're gonna move on to the next one, and this is a statistic that I just made up, but I'm gonna say this might be the second hardest reservation to get at Disney. Maybe, maybe not, but it's up there, and that's at Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary. Now this for most people is just a must do because of where it is, who you get to see, not necessarily the food. But
Well,
again,
it used to be.
It used to be, right. But we know, and you've talked before about how that's gone downhill some, but it's still a it's a hot reservation to get because you get to see, I mean, that's true Disney. Like, again, when you think of Disney and you think of Cinderella's Castle and you think of the Contemporary and Grand Floridian, I think you think of Chef Mickey's. So you're not able to get that. Let's stay within somewhat of the same area. What's a backup plan to that?
So to me, are you at Chef Mickey's because of the characters, or you're at Chef Mickey's because of the food? Odds are it's the characters, right? We've already talked about the food. So if you are staying at Contemporary, Polynesian, Grand Floridian, you're on the monorail loop. My choice would probably be, if you can give up the Mickey, Minnie, and in Big Five there, I would probably do the buffet. I'd go Ohana, and could you do it for breakfast?
Yeah.
Right? So that would be my first choice on there.
Yeah, and you're still going to get Mickey,
Yep.
Lilo, Stitch, and I think when we were there it was Pluto as well.
Right.
So you're still getting some good characters, and you're getting it was a good breakfast.
Yeah, and so that would be it because, again, Ohana doesn't have characters for dinner. They just have them for breakfast.
Right.
And so, and who knows? Sometimes with the kids, get them fresher in the morning versus later in the day if you really ran them ragged. That maybe we've seen plenty of meltdowns, and we've seen them all times of the days, but I've definitely seen a lot more meltdowns, in the evening than I have first thing in the morning.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so if I couldn't go into Chef Mickey's, I'd head over to Polynesia and try and get Ohana for breakfast.
Okay.
Again, you're still making that reservation well out.
Yeah. Now let's just say that, and this isn't going to be part of our 10, but let's just say you want to get Ohana's for dinner, and that's not available. What's your backup plan? Are you going to do the luau over at Polynesian? Is that going to be similar enough?
Yeah, I would because, again, like we said, no characters at Ohana for dinner. So you're there, really, there's some games that they do with the kids. You have some music of somebody walking around. And you have, it's the unlimited amount of food. It's not a buffet, but they bring whatever you want. Is to be able to move over to Ohana where you have a show.
Yeah.
The kids are still involved on it. It's all you can eat, and some of the dishes are realistically the same.
Right.
So I would, if I couldn't get into one, I'd get into the other if I could.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So we're down to number one, which I know everybody's sitting on the edge of their seat, and I don't think this will become a surprise to anyone. Probably the toughest reservation to get, Victoria and Albert's. So can't get that reservation, or maybe, you want a fine dining experience, but Victoria and Albert's is not in the budget. As you and I talked prior to hitting record, you let me in a little bit on some of the pricing there, which I was unaware of and blown away. So this is on my 10-year plan, I think. I'm going to have to start my investment or pull out of my 401k early, but can't get to Victoria and Albert's. I think there's a couple other options maybe that you could pick from, right?
Yeah, a couple other options that you can pick from. So Victoria and Albert's was just a great experience. One of the best experiences that I've had, and I've done a lot of fine dining. So it's definitely up there. Chef Scott Hunnell has been leading the charge there for a long time and does a great job on it. If you do the Disney Dream Cruise and you can add on 2 dining there, one of the dining that you could add on is Remy, which is a multi-course, but he created one of the menus. So chef from France did one of the menus, he did one, or you can kind of pick out from both of them and combine it. So it's a 4 or 5 course, but he did one of them. So, and I believe the upcharge for that is $85 a person.
Okay.
So less than Victoria and Albert's, besides the fact that you already paid for the cruise.
You paid for a cruise, right?
Paid for a cruise. But if you paid for the vacation, right, an extra $85 a person,
That's
it's a pretty good deal on that. Back in the day, this was my parents' go-to once a year all the time, but they used to take Tables in Wonderland, which they no longer do. So you kind of miss that discount. You're paying here now. So Michelle and I have gone before, and she just told me within the last couple of weeks that we need to go again. So I'm not one to say no. Now it's just got to find the date and the time. And are we paying for that? Plus we're doing the Sandcastle Club.
Right.
And paying for that as well.
Right.
So it turns into a pretty expensive night. If I wanted to stay in the Grand Floridian, it is, well, let me preface this. There is no restaurant on Disney property equal to Victoria and Albert's.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And if you are a male, you have to wear a jacket and tie. Female,
that would
is
already
dressed.
cost extra for me because I don't think I own one. So I'm already out, you know.
Yeah. So this is this has attire that you must wear. Also, no person under the age of 18.
Okay.
So
That's nice.
You're not bringing a child in there, nothing.
Nor do you want to.
Nor do you want to. So this is, and you're looking at a multi-hour dinner, multi-course meal, not something that you pick I pick an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. This is multi-courses.
Okay.
And there can be some substitutions throughout it, but you're pretty much picking, you're having that picked for you.
Okay.
If I were to say, if I stay at Grand Floridian, Citrico's is probably overlooked, but a great meal. You don't have to wear your suit and tie, but a great meal there it would be one. And two, if I wanted a little bit more of the view in a great meal, is head over to Narcoossee's at Grand Floridian, right on the water. And if you can get a reservation time that's a little bit towards later in the evening, perhaps you can see some fireworks from there as well.
Yeah.
But probably my top place that, if there anything on property that gives you that, well, I can't get to Victoria and Albert's, what's the next best? Maybe Monsieur Paul in France. Now, you're in a theme park, but it's right at that back entrance. Yeah. So if you're coming from one of the boardwalk resorts, the Epcot resorts, and you want to get dressed up, it's okay because you're heading in and you're heading straight to France. But this is the restaurant that's upstairs above Chefs de France. So it's more private. It has some great food options, but also they come with a hefty price. Mm-hmm. So this is probably behind Victoria and Albert's, one of the most expensive restaurants on property. But that would be my second. If I couldn't get into Victoria and Albert's, I would consider going to Monsieur Paul if I could. Yeah.
Well, and you brought up Tables in Wonderland. And when we're talking about most of these restaurants, a majority of what we talked about will accept Tables in Wonderland. And if you're not sure what that is, this is for, you got to be an annual pass holder, a DVC, or a Florida resident, right? One of those three. But you could live outside of Florida, be a pass holder, or a DVC and get it. I can't remember. John's going to look it up. But so, and we'll get clarification there, but Tables in Wonderland is basically a discount membership on dining. So, you pay $150 to, I think it's $170 a year, dependent on your pass holder or Florida resident. And you're going to get 20% off food and alcoholic beverage, which is really good at most of these places we've talked about, and a large list of restaurants at the parks and at the resorts. So your membership's going to last a year. So if you're somebody who makes repeat visits and you're somebody that tends to do table service or fine dining because it's not accepted for the most part at quick service, I know, like, oddly enough, Pop Century Food Court takes Tables in Wonderland, so you're saving a couple bucks anytime you eat there. But it may be something that you want to look into if you're a repeat visitor to Disney and you love to eat at some of these places, because you're gonna save a good amount of money. We just finished our first year having Tables in Wonderland, and we, over the course of the year, and we don't do a ton of fine dining or sit down, but we still saved $283 throughout the course of the year because we tracked it, and our initial membership was $150. So it more than paid for itself with us, and I know you did even better than that. Now, often you have larger parties because you've got, Alexis or Johnny or your sister are with you. But you guys really made out on this past year with Tables in Wonderland.
Yeah, I think ours was $621 or $631.
Yeah, and for basically $150 initial investment. So well worth it.
So either and you can't use them on the slushy, so I can't blame it on that.
Yeah.
But
you would have saved $800, $900 over the course of the year if slushies were involved, I'm sure. But yeah, so it's something to recommend. Also, make sure, for us, we ask anywhere other discounts. We're pass holders. We have Tables in Wonderland. I know you guys are DVC, you're pass holders, and you have Tables in Wonderland. So really, anywhere you go as far as dining goes, even if it's a quick service, go ahead and just ask, are there any available discounts?
yeah, and you're right. Tables in Wonderland, DVC member, Florida resident, or an annual pass holder.
Okay, yeah. So again, look at it. Now, you could even do the math if you're planning a 7 to 10 day trip, and say you're a Florida resident, obviously you fall under one of those requirements, and you're going to be doing table service dining every single day on your trip. It might even be worth that $150 investment just for that 7 to 10 days that you're going to be there. If you're talking a family of 4 is probably going to spend on average at most of these places 100 to 150. If you include drinks, maybe you're getting up to 200. So you're saving 20% off of that every single day for a 7 to 10 day trip. Might be worth looking into.
Yeah, so you save 20%. They automatically add an 18% gratuity to your bill. The other thing is, depending how you plan your trips. So if you're one of those members, no different than annual pass. So let's just say you want to get 2 years out of an annual pass, right? Say you're out of state, but you want to get it. Mm-hmm. So maybe your trip is in July this year, but it's the end of June next year, right? That way you were able to use the annual pass twice.
Right.
You'd want to do the same thing with Tables in Wonderland, right? Can you do the same thing where I'm not a local person who's using this all the time, but is it something where I do go to Disney once a year, but I could buy that Tables in Wonderland in July?
Yeah.
And then I do have my follow-up trip the following June.
Right.
And now you've added on the number of days you can use it.
Yeah, and something else with Tables in Wonderland. So when it's not good for a year from date of purchase. It's good for the end of that month that you purchase it in. So for example, if you bought it September 1st, 2017, it's good till September 30th, 2018. Again, if you're a repeat visitor to Disney and you're going to get tables, I would buy it closer to the beginning of a month and get a little more out of it. Now, funny enough, and I have to check in. So we got ours last year in September when we were down there with you guys because you recommended it. And we got it September 10th of 2016. Well, we just went in October with you guys, and I used Tables in Wonderland several times, and they accepted it. So I don't know if it automatically renewed. I got to go check my credit card bill, but technically we should have expired. Yes. So I'm not sure what happened there.
Sometimes they've run promotions in the past where they'll give you 13 months.
Okay, maybe that was it then.
Yeah,
right.
And I even think there were periods of time where they've maybe even given 15 months.
Okay.
But 13, this used to be, and again, Tables in Wonderland to me has been, not that it's been devalued, but because they give benefits to annual pass holders for food, most people tend to overlook Tables in Wonderland, and the price has increased so much. Right, the price used to be $50, and then it's gone on to where it's now. I forget what I know. I get $25 off for DVC.
Right.
So I guess I'm at $150.
Yep.
I don't think I pay $120. I think I'm at $150 on it, but because it works for the alcohol. If you drink, if you don't, hey, maybe this isn't right for you. But you look at it, they do also run events exclusive to Tables in Wonderland members.
Yes.
So if you go on their website, you'll not only see all the restaurants that are part of the program, but you'll also see upcoming events where maybe they do a dining event just for pass holder, just for Tables in Wonderland members, but they're doing it at the, I forget what the name of it is, but the clubhouse at Golden Oak. So they do some dinners there, like farm to table dinners, just
Yeah.
for Tables in Wonderland. To me, they don't do as much as what they used to. The dinners now, they're still doing them, but they seem to be very high end.
Yes, very. I know there was some opportunity. I think there was some prior to Food and Wine Fest this year that we got invites to. Yeah, and you kind of looked at the extra price and you looked at the timing, and it was like, well, maybe that's not in our wheelhouse for this year, but maybe next year we'll make a trip down for some of those events. But well, this was fun. I'm starving now, but hopefully this has given some good information on some of these hard to get reservations. So thanks again for listening. Make sure you subscribe to our show on iTunes. Leave us a rating and review. Head on over to Facebook and Twitter, Main ST Magic, and let us know what your favorite dining reservations are. Maybe we missed out on something, or maybe there's another hard to get reservation and you've got a backup plan. Go ahead and let us know. Well, that's all for now. We'll see you real soon.